And we're back. We're taping this show on the 21st. And I just got notice on my phone about 30 minutes ago of a major earthquake on the coastline, Pacific coastline of Mexico, 6.6 on the Richter. And they're getting set to put out tsunami warnings and all this sort of thing. We've been doing our fair share of shaking around here, haven't we?
Shake and bake.
Yeah. And what are they doing about it? I know they appointed a committee to look into it, but they refused to take any action.
Well, the Corporation Commission shuts down, or attempts to shut down wastewater injection wells, and they came to terms with Sandridge Energy, which they had been kind of squabbling with over some wells at, was it Medford? That
You're
area?
right,
So,
yeah, right, that area.
but I don't think there's an on and off switch on these earthquakes. I wonder if we haven't let the genie out of the bottle.
Horse out of the bar.
Yeah.
The experts say that we need to take far more dramatic steps. The Corporation Commission orders are actually temporary suspensions, basically, in the areas where they've had 4 and above earthquakes. And the disturbing thing is, I don't know if the state has any seismologists. Recently, we had a story that at this time, when there's record numbers of earthquakes, that both state seismologist positions were open, and they didn't appear to be in a hurry to fill them. So, but
now,
every year has been a record. And
wait a second.
Yeah.
When did that happen? Because up until before Christmas, we had one.
We did, and they both left.
Yeah, he went to Colorado, didn't he?
Austin Holland left first in the summer, and then Amberly Darrell left after that. And I talked to the new director of the Oklahoma Geological Survey. He's there at OU, and he said, well, one of those positions might not even be a seismologist. It takes universities a while to hire, but it seems like this is an emergency.
Universities tend to move. Please don't hold this against me, TU.
Right.
But universities tend to move at the speed of a glacier.
But the OGS is a separate state agency.
Yeah.
It's
That's
house
true.
OU, but it doesn't need to.
Can the feds step in and provide one?
I'm sure that the USGS would be happy to help. The Oklahoma Geological Survey has sort of differed.
This doesn't seem like a time to be without some scientist that can read the charts.
Well, I know we have a couple at TU that we routinely call on for their expertise, yes.
I spoke to the Corporation Commission when we did this story, and they said this is hampering our ability to deal with this earthquake problem. We need a seismologist. So hopefully they've gotten one. I don't believe that they have yet, though.
Holy Toledo. That's really sad.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are more people in the industry that are starting to be more concerned about this. So there may be some more actions. But, what do you do? Do you stop drilling completely in Oklahoma? Is that, you're talking about a budget shortfall, that'd be horrendous.
That'd be a big one.
And there are some people, and I know you don't like this, but there are some people who think, let's have a bunch of little earthquakes instead of having a great big earthquake. I think 4.2 is the biggest one we've had, and they say
5.6.
We had a 5, almost
okay.
5,
But they
6,
say that it releases the pressure, and so we haven't had a whole lot of damage from the earthquakes.
Well, 2 weeks
That's
ago,
true.
we had power cut to a portion of Oklahoma City because of one.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that we've had so many out in the borders and in the hinterlands, and then when we have a decent sized one in Oklahoma City area, all of a sudden it's an emergency that must be dealt with.
We can fill the state capitol with people upset about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, switching horses here, what's the latest with the Tulsa County Sheriff's Office? What's going on over there? We're into our second interim sheriff.
It's a full-time job keeping up with it, I can tell you. So obviously Stanley Glanz is a former sheriff and indicted on 2 counts, and Rick Weigel, his undersheriff, took over, was acting sheriff, and was doing a good job. He's a good man, and had a heated discussion about budget with some county officials, including a county commissioner, and said, you'll have my resignation by the end of the week. And the next day he resigned and said, I've had enough of it. It's a pressure-filled job right now. It's difficult, I'm sure. There's still ongoing issues, upheaval. There's a lot of problems that people who are no longer there have left for these good people who are still trying to carry on. So acting sheriff, essentially Michelle Robinette, is in charge, and hopefully, we won't have any more upheaval. I know people would like to see things get back on track.
And she'd scheduled a news conference and then canceled it. What was that about?
I'm not really sure. Rick Weigel's retirement technically hasn't gone into effect because he's got some vacation time. That didn't seem like it makes sense. We've asked repeatedly for interviews, and she's hasn't even responded. I mean, I think it's time for them to come out and talk and just be honest. They've dragged their feet on records requests. I've been waiting since last May to get emails that I've requested related to this. So I think there's more to come on this, unfortunately, and it's house cleaning for sure.
A story that just won't end.
I know, it won't, and you know, we would like to move on to other things at the frontier. We have plenty of things to investigate. We've even had some people saying, get off of it already, it's enough. But you know, recently we found out that the former undersheriff essentially engineered a contract for his wife's company. The cost of a physical exam for new job applicants went from $85 to $800. So, you know.
Well, I'll tell you one of the problems too is we have a special election coming up and there are 10 candidates.
Yes.
And people just aren't very well informed about the candidates. People are having trouble. I ask people, who are you going to vote for? And they say, I have no idea who these people are.
That's true.
You guys have passports?
Yes.
I do.
Good, so do I. And I would encourage you folks at home to get a passport. We're supposed to be, the legislature is supposed to be dealing with this real ID situation, and we just got another extension, which means we're looking at maybe 4 years down the road before we get anything done. And the door is going to slam, and pretty soon they won't be able to board a plane, go into any federal building without a real ID or a passport. Am I reading this correctly?
Well, about half the states are in the same boat as Oklahoma, and it was a 2-year extension, I
No,
believe.
wait, Charlie, that's a little bit, I don't think they're all, we've got half the states.
New York is one of them, and I think there's been a series of extensions. It's a political issue, and there's not a lot of sympathy with the legislature here. It doesn't want it, and there's a lot of opposition to it around the country. So I'm not sure the feds are ever going to really enforce that.
I think the first person that gets told they can't get on an airplane, you're going to have a special session. You're going to have that fixed. I don't know. I mean, I just don't think it's really. I agree with you. I don't think it's going to be enforced.
2 quick stories I want to get your opinion on. South Carolina, fellow down there in the legislature wants to put all journalists on a registry before they can work. If they don't get on that registry and they try to work, they'll have to pay a $50 fine. Now, that hasn't been voted on yet, but doesn't that kind of frighten you a little bit?
Well, the problem is trying to find a journalist with $50.
Very good.
Hey, I'm going to write that down, Charlie. Pretty good
I think
one-liner.
he's taking his marching orders from North Korea and maybe Russia and, you know, some countries like that really know how to control journalists.
Oh, yeah, yeah. We have your mother. Go ahead and write the story.
Yeah.
All right, on the lighter side, with all that's facing Oklahoma, I've got to get this to the forefront. Senator Joseph Silk, a Republican from Broken Bow, wants to save us from ourselves. He's proposed legislation. He has actually proposed legislation that makes it illegal for men to use the women's restroom and for women to use the men's restroom. Boy, I'm sure glad somebody's on top of that.
Use the right stall. It's the law.
Yeah, it's the law. What's that about?
Well, it's
Just
a concern about
transgender.
transgendered people, and
Yeah.
you know. I guess I've broken the law before at a U2 concert once in Norman, so you know. I mean, who's going to be checking this? You know, I mean, there's been so many jokes about it, Charlie.
How in the world are they going to enforce
Take on it,
that?
Charlie.
Well,
You got 10. No,
It's-
you don't have. Okay. I'm sorry, Charlie. Save it. We're out of time. Thank you for
Sorry.
joining us. We'll see you a month from now.